Hello, welcome to This Be Boxing. We're back for a boxing news edition. I'm here with Rick, a very disappointed Rick, following the news yesterday. Dillian Whyte has got a shoulder injury and subsequently postponed his fight with Wallin. Apparently, the card is going to go ahead on the 30th. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. How are we doing, Rick?
Not bad, but yeah, disappointed. We were all aboard, ready to go to that one. But I suppose the good news is we are going to get a refund. I was worried when they said the show was still going to go on. We're going to have to pay 170 for the rest of that crap.
I know, it wasn't a great undercard, was it?
No.
But yeah, I was especially when the news came through, I knew you were going to, because you've been waiting for months and months for this. As it was, and then for this to finally happen, yeah, very disappointing. Quite strange as well, 2 weeks out or a week and a half out. Out of interest, which I mean, it's irrelevant now, but which of we? I presume you were picking Dillian Whyte for the win.
Yeah, but I think it was going to be a tough one for him. But yeah, I fancied Whyte. Yeah, I just think he gave. I look at his. I don't know. He's Auckland technically quite good, but I think Whyte's big danger is getting chinned by a big puncher, which has happened twice. I think he would have turned it into a bit of a scrap and probably turned it into his kind of fight, and would have not won comfortably, but would have won that way. I look at who Wallin has beat at kind of any low. I know he gave Fury a rough ride, but Fury can be bad sometimes. And his best wins probably Brazil.
Brazil, yeah.
Who was unmotivated, overweight. I'd expect that Brazil to be sparked out by Whyte in middle rounds.
Yeah. And
I know it doesn't always work like that, but
no, it doesn't.
But yeah, it would have been a tough fight for him though. Not one he needed to take, but southpaw, I think, isn't he? So
yeah, he is. Yeah. So what do you think happens now? They're not going to reschedule that, are they?
It doesn't sound like it, because they usually talk about reschedule, and I've not heard anything like that. Honest, I've not looked at many of the videos. I've seen a few videos come out from Wallin's manager, and I've not managed to look at them. And I think Dean Whyte, his so-called brother, I don't think he's actually his brother, commenting on stuff more about why the pullout happened and that. But I'd imagine it's not something you can move a couple of weeks. I don't think, this injury. And if this was a world title fight, no doubt it will have got moved to probably February.
Yeah.
I think, unless it could have been done in December, but so he's not going to move it a few months now, not when he can fight Fury in theory. So
yeah,
I don't know. My gut feel is that there's something going on. My gut feel is that there's something going on, and they've decided this is the wisest thing to not do this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a blessing in disguise. I actually was going to pick Wallin to win, actually, or maybe a draw. I thought it was going to be a really, really tough fight for Dillian Whyte. And I think on balance, and maybe on reflection, now that he has been officially installed as the mandatory challenger for Tyson Fury, why take the risk? Maybe he has an easy touch in January, February, and then they push for a mega fight in April time, something like that.
I don't know why they just don't do it. Why, if he is injured, won't be terribly injured. Fury has had a fight, so March time, to get it on for March.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted to clash with AJ Usyk.
Well, that sounds like more
too close.
April. That sounds more like April.
I don't know. Something tells me that Fury is going to take a bit of time off, because he had a really long camp. It was very traumatic, up and down. The fight's on, the fight's off. He got COVID. His daughter. Something tells me that he's going to have a bit of a break. I don't think we'll see Fury in the ring again until maybe next summer. So I hope I'm wrong, because it's good to see the heavyweight division. You know, good to get some momentum, isn't it? But something tells me he's going to just take a bit of time out.
I don't know though, because he's always moaned about inactivity, and it's always been forced upon him. So it'd be weird if he actually did it himself. But the daughter thing is a good point, and the family. But we'll see. I just hope it's again sorted soon, and you know, next month we're getting some announcement that it's happening in May. Sorry, in March. But potential wishful thinking.
I mean, I hope that is the case. That would be amazing. It would be good to get some.
It just feels like all the top heavyweights are fighting less and less now.
Yeah.
I know some of it's COVID and there's always injuries, but I don't know, it's just like, it probably feels more frustrating because of what we've had the past couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it is. It is frustrating.
Do you think there's shenanigans or is it a genuine injury?
Yeah, I think it's a genuine injury. I think it's a genuine injury.
I think there may be an injury, but I think it's one of those. I think it's, and I'm one of them who's not normally conspiracy person, as you know. I think there's probably a slight shoulder injury that in the normal times they would have, because they always say they go into, you know, every fighter goes into a fight with niggles, training camps and that. So I think he has got a niggle in his shoulder, but I just think they've gone, do you know what? A bit of a niggle there. We don't need this guy. We can sort this out. Let's use that as an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think in theory, there is a shoulder injury, but is it like to what level? And I think they've just upped the level really to say, oh, it's going to cost us.
I think you're probably right actually on that. That's probably bang on, because like you say, every fighter does go in. Nobody's ever 100%, you know, grueling camp. The camp is obviously the toughest part of it. You know, all of the rounds of sparring, they're always going to have little niggles. And yeah, they're probably, you know, he probably doesn't feel like he's as close to 100% as he would like. If it was a Fury, then maybe he would just like, let's just roll with it. You know, this is my chance. I don't want to postpone it. I don't want to put it off. But
yeah,
it's a fight he really doesn't need. Yeah.
If it was an easy touch, if this was like, you know, a
Areola or Marius Vac, he'd probably just go through with it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not Areola, but yeah, not after his last performance. But yeah, a whack where it's almost like it's going to be hard to knock him out, but it's a keep busy fight, isn't it? It's almost like hitting a punch bag and not much comes back of any note. Yeah.
I think Dimitri Salita is going to be pushing the WBC to reschedule this fight. I don't know how that's going to. Also, Wallin's a manager.
Yeah, but I don't know what grounds. I mean, it wasn't an eliminator between the two. It wasn't that I don't think it was like a final eliminator. So therefore, you know, it wasn't if Whyte lost, Wallins would face Fury. It was just if Whyte wins, he will face the winner of Wilder Fury.
Right.
It was never a final eliminator.
Right.
It was just Dillian, you're the man. But obviously, if you got beat off Wallins, then you wouldn't be the man. But we're not necessarily saying Wallins would be the man. That's why I think there's more chance of it being shenanigans, because he could not have he could dodge this fight and still go into the main fight. If this was a final eliminator and this happened, he'd still have to have this fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, my feelings on Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte, I still don't think it happens. But yeah, we'll see. Time will tell now, I guess.
This has made it slightly more realistic.
Not really. How? If he beats Otto Wallin, more people are probably going
to get past, and they can start negotiating 10 days quicker.
Mate, we'll watch what happens. I actually think if he goes into the Otto Wallin fight and he beats him, then more people are actually going to be banging the drum and putting pressure on Tyson Fury to accept his mandatory challenger. But the fact that he's kind of swerved it a little bit, I just think there's just going to be too many people out there that give Fury a pass, and you know, franchise champion or he relinquishes. That's my bet.
Well, it's
As a
either
boxing fan, as I say, I want to see it, but I just don't. I
it's
can't
either
see it.
those two things. I don't even think a franchise champion's on the cards. I just think if he goes down the path you say, he has to relinquish.
Yeah.
And then for me, I've already explained this. I think that makes other things harder for him. But what other news have we got?
Quite a bit, actually. Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall has been postponed. Another postponement to February.
That popped up on my phone. That's a Josh injury, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know exactly what it is, but I just saw that it was, it's an injury. The WBA mandatory situation is interesting. Apparently that's going to be called early next year. So the winner of Usyk heavyweight, the winner of Usyk and Joshua 2 will have to face the mandatory challenger for the WBA, which apparently is going to be Robert Helenius. So Helenius has got himself into a really good position with the WBA.
Be interesting to see, well, one, who he fights in between, and two, if the WBA would really stand in the way of an undisputed.
Yeah.
But
I thought Daniel Dubois was quite high up on the WBA ranking.
That's what
Frank Warren.
Warren, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, they say something like he's number one, but that doesn't mean it's almost like number one is not necessarily.
Unless it's a mandatory, he's mandatory for, or he's number one, and because I believe he's going to be fighting Trevor Bryan, who's the regular champion. So whether they have a different.
Helenius.
No, Daniel Dubois. Yeah, and the number one. Apparently, he's going to be fighting Trevor Bryan next, who is the WBA regular champion. And obviously Usyk is the super champion.
So you can be number one, but you're not necessarily the mandatory challenger. They have to, you can be number one, and then it's like, I think White's been number one for a while, but it's when they actually call it.
Yeah. Yard versus Arthur 2 has been announced, 4th of December.
Yeah, I saw a bit of that press conference, got a bit spicy between the trainers.
Did it? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Well, just wind each other up.
Yeah, well, that's a nice little sideshow. I'm quite excited for that fight because I think the first one was a bit of it was pretty dreadful actually. Yeah, it just didn't really get going, did it? Never really caught fire. But I think there's a few other kind of factors now that could potentially make this fight quite exciting. One major one I think is that Anthony Yard knows that he really needs to kind of put his foot on the gas a lot earlier in the fight and press him. Sort of get about it a little bit more. He was way too cautious.
We were still arguing in the press conference about who won and stuff, and Tunji was coming out with, he's going to do, you're scared, and he's going to do. I never get that. When someone's been in the ring with someone and they've won, why are they going to be over scared about them? It's a bit just daft, some of the things that they come out with and that. But I mean, hopefully it will be. He knows he's got to do more. Because he put it on him on the last round. Did he knock him down in the last round?
No. I think he rocked him from memory.
Yeah, maybe that's rocked. I know it a very, very good.
He caught him with a really good. Yeah, the final round, Yard definitely won, but he caught him with the right hand. But it wasn't staggering. It wasn't like a David Hay, Valuev.
But yeah, he did. It's almost like if he puts it on him. Maybe you can do that very early on, and then if you're rocking someone like that each round, they're going to go at some point. But we'll see. But yeah, it is entertaining because he knows he has to go for it, and I think it's entertaining as well because that he could still lose again because he's lost once. So I was going into that fight thinking he's odds on here.
Yeah, I'm still not. I mean, I was quite high on Anthony Yard. I think as in terms of natural ability, I was really, really excited about him. I'm not overly sold on the Tunde Ajayi trainer situation. I would have liked to have seen him link up with another trainer, to be honest. But I think he has a bit of a gas tank issue, and I think he's nervous about that as well. I think it's playing on his mind because obviously he emptied the tank against Kovalev, and Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
He
That's a
must have had
good
half the
fight though.
tank left in that last fight.
Yeah, I know. I think that's what it is. I think he was just ultra cautious. It's definitely had a knock-on effect.
I think the other thing as well, and you don't want to give people too many excuses, but the guy lost his dad and uncle as well to COVID.
Yeah.
That year, and you got to will have an impact on things. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see.
For sure. Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos, the 27th of November on DAZN. I'm actually really excited for that fight. We did a prediction video in the summer for George Kambosos versus Teofimo Lopez.
Did quite well on views, didn't it?
It did actually, but we got absolutely slated. George Kambosos fans were adamant that his man was going to do the business.
We'll have to do another one then. It's bad.
Well, I mean, I'd seen George Kambosos a couple of times in a couple of fights. One of them was Lee Selby. And I'm still and I've watched, because of that, I've watched a lot more of his fights, from quite early on in his career. And I could see why he does have a big following, because he's quite exciting. He's very offensive, likes to box on the front foot, likes to take control of the center of the ring, puts pressure, he's a real pressure fighter. And he's very exciting to watch, actually. But he does get caught a lot. And having watched all of those fights, it's just kind of got me excited for the fight against Teofimo Lopez. But I really
What date is it? The
27th of November.
Yeah, I'm hopefully in Miami.
Yeah. Good for you.
Not sure I'll get away with being able to watch that one.
Well, make sure you'll be able to do a half-an-hour video, though. We'll have to do a prediction video for that one. So that one I'm looking forward to. And then obviously the last bit of news, the AJ trainer situation, which has actually been very public. He's clearly sort of shopping around, as I see it, for a new trainer. There's been videos and pictures of him doing some pad work with Ronnie Shields. And also, I don't know if he did pad work, but he went to the Eddie Reynoso gym as well. And I believe he went to see Virgil Hunter. Hunter was former trainer.
I'm a bit surprised. I'm a bit surprised how public it is. It's almost like, I don't know. I thought if he'd do it, it'd be a bit more, quiet about it, and then you almost just find out. But
I think the trainer situation, he's been unhappy for the last few fights with Rob McCracken, because he's brought other people in the team. He's got like 3 or 4 people in his corner now, and that for me already says that he's not 100% happy with instructions or the training or whatever the case may be. But I think adding people to it, it's not necessarily a big slap in the face to Rob McCracken. It's like, well, let's just kind of. Whereas I think this sounds like he's just going to make a complete switch, which I think is probably a better way to do it. Yeah, I mean,
that's another reason why I think the fight might be April. I think if he goes to a new trainer, they'll need time. I mean, It's not ideal. Most people lose the fight, then go to a new trainer and have a few, warm-up fights. This person's got to get him ready for the biggest fight of his career.
Yeah.
So, tricky.
Yeah, it is. What's your sort of opinion? Like, who would you like to see him link up with?
Don't know. Virgil Hunter's. I think. Well, it depends. Like, for this next fight, you want someone. It's almost a bit Kronk-like. I think. Depends what tactics you think is the best to go and beat Usyk. If you kind of think you're not going to outbox him, so you've got to manhandle him and go for it, then it is a bit kind of Kronk style, I suppose. Where Virgil's a bit, I don't know, a bit more slick, defensive, and I'm not sure if that's the way to go. And I'm not quite sure what Jonathan Banks is. I'm not quite sure what his style is, really. Reynoso is, it is aggressive and slick, but it's controlled aggression.
Yeah. I quite like the Eddie Reynoso link up. I think that would be really interesting.
In the same gym as Ruiz.
Yeah. And Frank Sanchez.
Sanchez.
Yeah. But I don't think their paths are going to cross again anyway. I don't see AJ taking a Ruiz fight again. I think he's kind of closed that chapter. I think a link up with Eddie Reynoso, I think, would be really really interesting, because I think he's, whichever trainer it is, they will know what they need to address, whether they are typically a defensive coach or offensive. They'll know exactly what needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, most people that will have studied AJ and that will know. Yeah. So,
but I'm actually a little bit more on. But I didn't think a switching trainer was necessarily a good thing to do. But I must admit, I've come around on it a bit more now. I think it'll actually be a good thing.
Problem is, right, if he goes to Reynoso, whoever, and loses the fight, and maybe even goes through and gets stopped, it's probably a one fight. Is that a one fight? Are they binning that trainer off then as well? And then it almost becomes like a football football team who bins their manager off every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But
it just depends on the manner of the defeat. I mean, there's so many variables. I think, yeah, there's just so many variables. It's interesting how he's just gone straight to America. Doesn't look like he's going to be considering anybody in the UK.
I think their general style over there is a bit more aggressive, isn't it? Where in the UK and Europe, it's a bit more upright and all that. And don't know.
All right.
I mean, sometimes it's not just about boxing; it's about mentality as well, and belief and
mindset,
and whether there's that, and maybe it's gyms as well. Maybe he needs to go in a gym where there's winners. You've got Canelo and people like that, and it's just like you just are surrounded by like winners, and just up your game through that. Where he's probably the king of the crop in, he's boxing. I don't know. I mean, people say he just boxes with amateurs all the time, so his style's quite, though it's very slick, it's still quite amateur.
Yeah.
And not necessarily great for the pro ranks all the time, which is difficult to say when you won 3 belts, but do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
is he improving enough? If he was boxing with Andy Ruiz and Sanchez every day, would that help him? And
yeah, and I think he'll want to make a decision. I think he's going to make a decision pretty soon as well. Probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think we'll know who's going to be because they need to get with the camp.
He's got that look on his face. He doesn't know what to do, and he's been hit a bit, and he's like, takes him like a split second to get over the fact he's been hit. And I just think, is he just boxing amateurs all the time? And he's having his own way, and does he get pushed in sparring? And has it only been the only times he's ever been pushed is when Andy Ruiz clocked him, and then that fight when he couldn't outbox Usyk.
Yeah,
because he does suffer with a. I mean, he has adapted sometimes in fights when it's not gone quite so well. He's shown some ability to adapt, but not huge changes. Where Fury's almost got that instinct to be able to adapt. The Cunningham fight, he was trying to box him a bit like Joshua was, and he just got like caught by that overhand right. And then in the end, he knew he had to get close to him, manhandle him, and he did that like from round 3, or maybe round 4, because he was still a bit dazed in round 3. But he came out in round 4, and his style was different. He just got on him and started to wear him out. And I think by round 8, I think he had nothing left.
Yeah.
And he did take some risks as well. He had to take some risks to get his punches off and stuff, but then lean on him. And it's weird as well, actually, because remember one time in that Joshua fight, he just leaned slightly on Usyk, and Usyk was like, he seemed really unhappy with it.
Yeah.
Like an overreaction to like one slight lean. It was hardly that kind of fight. And so either he really didn't like the feeling of it, or he was just trying to make sure he didn't do it again and kicking off to the ref quickly. But you imagine what Fury would do. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he's got a little bit more reach advantage, but he would just grab hold of him he'd probably try and hit him, grab hold of him, and lean on him. I mean, he did it in the very first round against Wilder in this last fight. He took some of those body shots and he unloaded a couple of combinations that didn't do massive damage, and then grabbed him and leaned on it in the first round.
Yeah.
I know that I was worried about what was going to come back, but it was almost just like, I'll stay out of range and wear him out, and just threw some punches and just grabbed him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate how much energy that drains out of you. If you've got somebody who's 6'9", 280 pounds, gets you in a front headlock and is leaning on you, even if it's just for 5 seconds, it's going to take a lot out of you if you keep doing it as well.
Yeah. I always wonder what would happen is every time someone did that, you just went into the floor, because they can't call it a knockdown, but it just stops you get your energy being drained. But probably get booed a lot, but don't know.
Yeah, the dark arts.
You're slowing down there. Your internet.
Yeah, you're slowing down as well. No, my internet's fine. Yeah. All right, let's
call it a day.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. All right, thanks everybody for listening. We'll speak to you soon.